Did you know that in Fire Emblem Heroes, green units have the least amount of summonable characters compared to all the other colors? Now whether or not this is true, I actually have no idea since I was too lazy to sit there and count, but regardless, today I'm going to be counting down the top 5 best green units in the game, so make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and let's get into it. As a warning before the list actually begins, this is completely based on my opinion alone, so it really holds no value outside of my own mind. That being said, if you do not agree, just leave your own top 5 in the comments and I'll read it. Probably.
New year, new resolve!
You knew one of the Zura were gonna be on this list, don't you lie to me. Of course it had to be Zura, here to remind me that I already filled my New Year's resolutions. She released on December 31st on the Happy New Year banner in 2017, sharing the spotlight with Camila and Takumi. Now outside of her speed stat, her stats aren't anything too special, with the base HP of 37, attack of 30, speed of 35, defense of 22, and resistance of 26. But that is not why she is on this list. At the time of recording this video, she is the only flyer dancer, meaning she can move up to 3 spaces. That covers a lot of distance, let alone not being bothered by various terrain and crossing gaps to have an easier time reaching your targets. Since she is Zura, you can easily find a spot for her on a flyer emblem team, since those are starting to get a little popular, especially since Iold's shield is now a sacred seal. Let's talk about her kit, starting with her weapon, the Hagoita Plus, which has a might of 14 and grants +2 defense and resistance to allies within 2 spaces during combat. This is quite nice, seeing as how dancers tend to stick around the team for the duration of the battles, so this will come into play quite often. Her assist skill is Sing. I think that one is pretty self-explanatory. She has no special skill, but if we move on to the passives, she has Earth Dance as her A slot, which grants +5 defense to your singing target. This is a nice boost to a fellow teammate and it can be a huge difference maker in how a battle turns out for said ally. As for her C slot, she's got Hone Flyers, which is super premium. The only other 2 characters to have this skill are Halloween Naui and Hinoka, so that's a pretty good get. It grants +6 attack and speed at the start of your turn to adjacent flying allies for 1 turn, which helps in Flyer Emblem immensely. You can summon New Year's Zura whenever she comes back, whether it be on a legendary 8% banner or a possible rerun of the original banner come the end of 2018, which could be a while. But if she does return, you can go ahead and summon her on any green colored stone to have a chance to get her. When it comes to IVs, plus attack or plus speed is always nice, with the minus being pretty much anything else. She is a dancer or singer in this case, so don't be too upset if yours doesn't have quote-unquote optimal IVs, since the second chance at movement is the same regardless. As for the builds, I would go Hagoita Plus with the speed refined for the weapon, Sing for the assist skill, Moonbow for the special skill, and on to the passives, I would run Triangle Adept 3 for the A slot, Wings of Mercy 3 for the B slot, but if you're running Flyer Emblem, I would change Wings of Mercy for Flyer Formation 3, and for the C slot, I would leave Hone Flyers. Unless your team has no other flyers, then you got to go Hone Speed. Moving on to the Sacred Seal, I'd either go Guidance 3 or Iold's Shield. The choice is yours. That being said, a dancer that has this type of mobility is such a damn blessing, which is why Zura is flying into the number 5 spot.
I suppose Falchion can be used to slice cake.
Christmas Kromm, but don't get it twisted, there are bodies in his sack, not gifts. He released on December 18th, 2017, accompanied by seasonal versions of Lissa, Robin, and Tharja on a banner called Winter's Envoy. He's an armored axe unit, so 1 space at a time for this guy, but he'll get there eventually. Now don't let the Christmas spirit fool you, this version of Kromm is actually a current contender for one of the highest base attack stats in the game. His strength is no joke, but if you want something to laugh at, then it would have to be his speed. If we go through his stats one by one, he has base 51 HP, 40 attack, 19 speed, 35 defense, and 29 resistance, which is a pretty nice set of stats. He is an armored unit, and as you may know, a lot of them tend to not be fast at all, which is the case here. Shifting gears to his default kit, he comes with Sacco Gifts Plus, which has a might of 14 and grants him +2 attack, speed, defense, and resistance during combat, so long as the foe initiates the attack, which is fun, since Kromm can now indeed be an enemy phase unit. For his assist, he's got Pivot, which is a fairly useful skill for armored units, depending on the situation and map you plan on entering. He comes with no special skill, but his passives are quite good. Starting with this A slot, he's got Brazen Attack / Defense, which grants the unit +7 attack and defense during combat, so long as you have less than 80% HP before the combat actually begins. This is pretty damn insane, and Kromm is currently the only character that has this skill. Finally, for his C slot, he's got Worry Fighter, which is quite common on a lot of armored units, and it essentially makes sure both you and the foe at hand cannot make a follow-up attack so long as you have above 50% HP. You can get Gifted Leader Kromm by Well, you can't get him anymore since he's a seasonal unit and his banner cycles out. As seen with other various exclusive characters, he may make an appearance on a future legendary 8% banner or make a return during the holidays this year. If he ever does return, he can be found in the green colored stone. As for his IVs, plus attack is always nice, but plus defense can also help out a ton. Pretty much anything except for plus speed. On to the builds. I would leave his weapon as is but refine it for defense. Keep pivot or switch to swap depending on what your scenario is for the assist. You gotta have bonfire for the special because that defense is no joke. For his passives, I would go distant counter if you're super premium for the A slot. If not, brazen attack / defense 3 works just fine. It's what I use personally. For the B skill, I would keep Wary Fighter because you'll be getting doubled a lot if you don't have it, and there is almost never a time where you'll have 5 speed over someone. And then Threaten Defense 3 for the C slot so you can get more damage output. As for the Sacred Seal, I would either say Armored Boots, Heavy Blade 3, Close Defense / Distant Defense 3. In short, that's a lot of damage, which is why Gifted Leader Kromm is number 4 on this top 5.
I will devour you.
Look, it's Robin. Not the blue tone one, not the Christmas one, and not the one that's a girl, but the one that stole Christmas. I know he looks like the Grinch, but instead of stealing Christmas, he stole the number 3 spot on this top 5. He released on February 22nd, 2018 on the Fallen Heroes banner, joined by Celica and Hardin. He's an armored dragon unit, which is fun because Armored Boots Sacred Seal is a lot more accessible now, so he can fit in a lot more teams without worrying too much about his limited movement. He is actually a current contender for the highest base attack stat in the game, only to be tied with Christmas Kromm and Effie. But that's not all. Robin does really freaking well in pretty much all stats except for speed, which is quite common for armored units. His base stats are 48 for HP, 40 for attack, 24 for speed, 35 for defense, and 27 for resistance, which as mentioned earlier is pretty good. Now onto his default kit, and man is it a thing of beauty. Starting with this weapon that has a might of 16 expiration, which has distant counter built into it, but it also has a trick up its sleeve. If your enemy is a ranged attacker, Robin attacks on the enemy's lower defensive stat, whether it be the physical defensive stat or the resistance stat, which can easily leave any foe wide open. He has no assist skill out the gate, so we're just gonna skip that one. His special is Ignis, which works pretty well right out of the box since his defense is fairly high. Onto his passives. Things start to look a little premium. His B slot is Vengeful Fighter 3, which allows you to have a guaranteed follow-up attack so long as the foe initiates combat and your HP is above 50%, as well as granting you 1 special cooldown charge per attack. At the time of making this video, only 2 units have this skill, the other being Christmas Starja, so this is a pretty good get. Next for his C slot, you've got War Dragons, which is also currently exclusive, and it helps a lot if you choose to run Dragon Emblem with this guy, since it grants +4 defense and resistance to your dragon allies within 2 spaces during combat. You can obtain Fallen Robin by summoning on the green colored stones on pretty much any banner, and he will have a chance to appear. When it comes to IVs, it's not your choice, but the most optimal would either be plus attack or plus defense with the minus being speed, because he is pretty slow. As for the builds, I would keep his weapon as is, throw on swap for the assist, leave Ignis for the special, put either Steady Stats or Steady Breath for the A skill, Vengeful Fighter 3 for the B skill, and War Dragons for the C slot if you choose to have other dragons on your team. If not, you can replace it with another stat boosting skill that fits your team build. Top it all off with either Armored Boots Sacred Seal or Close Defense / Distant Defense 3. All that being said, one of the hardest hitters in the game, fits quite well in both Dragon Emblem and Armor Emblem teams, and he can take a hit like a champ, is more than enough reasoning to justify the Fell Dragon spot on this top 5.
Can you tell me how I'll know if I'm in love?
Don't let her looks fool you, the great dragon Myrrh is an absolute monster. She released on January 25th, 2018 on the Sacred Memories banner together with Erica and La Rochelle as the first ever flying dragon in the game. For someone as mobile as she is, she's got defenses like a damn armored unit, let me tell you. Let's take a look at her stats real fast. She's got base 42 HP, 33 attack, 25 speed, 36 defense, and 31 resistance, which is pretty damn tanky. She may seem a little slow, but I wouldn't worry too much about getting doubled once you take a look at what she carries in her default kit. Her weapon of choice is Great Flame. It has a might of 16 and grants +3 attack, but that's not all. If you have at least 5 more defense than the foe at hand, they cannot do a follow-up attack, so with a defense as high as hers and the speed as low as it is, you shouldn't have to worry too much about getting hit multiple times. But wait, there's more. If you are in combat with a ranged unit, you calculate the damage using the lower of the two between the enemy's defense and resistance, which can put the enemy team in hot water. You get no assist skill out of the box, but you get Bonfire as the special skill, which is useful since her defense is so high. For her passives, you get Fury for her A slot, which is a pretty good skill, as a lot of you may know. Following that up with their C slot, which is Hone Dragons. At the time of making this video, Myrrh is currently the only character in the game to have this skill, and it's a pretty big part of Dragon Emblem. It grants +6 attack and speed to adjacent dragon allies at the start of the turn for 1 turn. You can obtain Myrrh by summoning on the green colored stones on any banner, and she'll have a chance to appear, so long as it's not a focus exclusive banner such as the legendary 8% ones, of course. When talking IVs, you want plus attack or plus defense, but as always, just use what you got. As for builds, you can leave Great Flame as a weapon, reposition as the assist skill, keep Bonfire as the special skill. Now moving on to the passives, on the A slot I would either go Distant Counter because it works really well with Great Flame's weapon effect, or keep Fury 3 if you have no Distant Counter fodder, which is completely understandable. For the B skill I would run Quick Repost 3 and then leave Hone Dragons for the C slot, but of course you can adapt to whatever your team just so happens to be if there are no dragons in it, outside of Myrrh. When it comes to the Sacred Seal, I would either use Iota Shield or Close/Distant Defense 3, that would do some work I feel. I could talk about Myrrh all day, but to keep a long story short, she's a flying dragon that not only deals heavy damage, but can tank a hit or two as well, which is why she is number 2 on this top 5. Before revealing the number 1 spot, here are some honorable mentions. The Serene Warrior Dorcas, the Divine Dragon Faye, Pious Mage Nino, Brave Mercenary Ike, and Tropical Flower Elise.
Got a present for ya!
And finally, the best green unit in Fire Emblem Heroes in my personal opinion, Love Abounds Hector. This guy is a problem in the best way possible. He released on February 9th, 2018 on the Love Abounds banner shared with Lynn, Lilina, and Roy. That being said, let's get into the stats. He is currently a contender for the 2nd highest attack stat and 2nd highest defense stat at the time of making this video. Those are 2 really important stats, and the fact that he heavily excels at both is an absolute beauty. Let's take a step by step. So his base HP is 50, attack is 38, speed is 21, defense is 40, and resistance is 24. Things are looking up for Hector, damn. But it gets better. His weapon, the Berserk Armads, has a might of 16 and accelerates special cooldown by 1, and he deals +10 damage when his special triggers. But wait, there's more of course. If he is below 75% HP at the start of the turn and his attack activates your special, you're granted 1 special cooldown charge. That's a pretty nice weapon to say the absolute least. He has no assist skill out of the box, but best believe he's got a special skill which is Glimmer. Ever since its buff, Glimmer is a fairly reliable special to have, so that's nice. Onto the passives, his A slot is Hector's trusty Distant Counter. There are currently only 2 characters in the game to come with Distant Counter, and both of them are Hector. Makes me real sad scrolling through my list of characters knowing only a small handful will be blessed with Distant Counter via skill inheritance. But moving on to his B slot, it's Worry Fighter, which is cool since he is indeed a slow armor unit. You can obtain Love Abounds Hector whenever his banner comes back around Valentine's Day, if it ever does, or by waiting for him to appear on a legendary 8% banner on a green colored stone. If you do summon him, of course you'd either want plus attack or plus defense, with the minus being speed because he really doesn't need that since it's super low regardless. As for the builds, you want to keep his weapon as is, throw on swap for the assist skill. For the special skill, it changes depending on your passives. Allow me to explain. For the A slot, you want to keep Distant Counter, stop playing games. For the B slot, you have a few options here. You can go with Wrath 3, and with that, for the special, I would run Bonfire. Another option could be Vantage 3, and the special for that would be Ignis. Next up, we have Bold Fighter 3, while keeping Ignis. Following that up, we have Vengeful Fighter 3 with Aether. Lastly, more toward the budget side, we have Worry Fighter 3 with Glimmer as the special. For all of these builds, Ward Armor works for the C slot. If there are no other armored units on the team, you can swap it out for whatever suits your scenario. As for the Sacred Seal, depending on you, it should be swapping between Quick Repost 3 and Distant Defense 3 for the most part, but of course Armored Boots can work as well. All that being said and done, damn am I upset for not being able to summon this guy. What an absolute unit, which is why Love Abounds Hector is the best green unit in Fire Emblem Heroes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you all enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already, as that is always very much appreciated. Also, a huge thank you to Phoenix Master 1 for recording the Hector footage, as well as helping out with a lot of the builds shown in this video, so go ahead and check him out. His link will be in the video description down below, as well as my Twitter account, Instagram, and Twitch. I'm going to try to go ahead and stream a lot more often on there, so go ahead and check that out. But thank you guys so much for watching, like I said, and I will catch you guys later.